Good morning. Welcome to the Community Church of Chapel Hill Unitarian Universalist. My name is Michelle Itano, and I am a member of the Worship Associates ministry of our church. Whoever you love, however you arrived at this beloved place, you are welcome here. I want to especially welcome our guests and newcomers. If you are a visitor this morning, there is a special note for you, Welcome Guests and Newcomers, on the back of the order of service. As we continue with reopening, I want to mention a few things to keep in mind. We are masking inside on Sunday mornings as a way of striving to be an inclusive community. After the service, we invite you to gather in two different areas. The courtyard is a mask-optional space for fellowship, and the area behind the Jones building, which includes the porch, grassy area, and the playground, is a space where masking is mandatory. We are not currently passing the offering baskets, so if you want to make a donation, please place your donation in the offering baskets as you enter or exit the sanctuary. Our virtual coffee hour today at 11:30 will be hosted by Rachel Rose and the Welcoming Committee. The Zoom link is in the weekly announcements and the Sunday morning email. I have an additional special announcement to share with you this morning from Marian Hirsch and the Religious Education Program. In the month of November, the art in the sanctuary has been created by our children in the church, the youth, their parents, and even a grandparent. We hope you enjoy and celebrate the creativity of our all-ages community. I know our children were very proud to be able to contribute. Thank you to Marnie Goldschlag for her support in hanging of the show. Please turn off or silence any cell phones during our service to maintain a worshipful experience today. For the opening hymn, please stand in body or in spirit. Our opening hymn this morning is number 188, Come, Come, Whoever You Are, which can be found in the gray hymnal. These opening words are by Jacob Trapp. Each of the great religions has a distinctive note to be likened to the strings of a harp. In Hinduism, it is the note of spirit, a universe throbbing with divine energy and meaning. In Buddhism, it is the wisdom of self-discipline, quenching the fire of desire in the cool waters of meditation. In Confucianism, it is reciprocity. Mutual consideration is the basis of society. In Taoism, it is to conquer by inaction. Be lowly and serviceable, like a brook. Be rich by sharing. In Judaism, it is exodus from bondage, the covenant of responsibility in freedom. In Islam, it is the note of submission. Our God and your God is one, to whom we are self-surrendered. In Christianity, it is that all may become one. This is my body broken for you, inasmuch as you have done it to one of the least of these. Words for today's chalice lighting can be found in the order of service. If you wish to do so, please join me in reading the words by Lao Tzu. 30 spokes share the wheel's hub. It is the center whole that makes it useful. Shape clay into a vessel. It is the space within that makes it useful. Cut doors and windows for a room. It is the holes that make it useful. Therefore, profit comes from what is there, usefulness from what is not there.
Good morning. Each week we hold in our service a time for sharing the joys and the sorrows that we bring with us into this church community. It's at this time that we invite you, if you've come with either a significant personal joy or a significant sorrow, invited to come forward to place a stone in the water bowl, share your name, and briefly share your joy or your sorrow. Let us enter into this time of tenderness and trust. Are there any joys and sorrows this morning?
Good morning. I'm George Thompson, and the joy that I have is that tomorrow, for the next few days, we will be visiting our son and his wife and our grandkids in D.C., and the 5.5-year-old and 8-year-old were able to get their first vaccine yesterday, and they were just so delighted, even though they have sore arms. So we're on the road to discovery here. That's good.
I'm Mary Hewlett, and I'm the chair of the Immigrant Justice Initiative, and my joy is all of the incredible volunteers in this church. On Monday, we moved Gabby and Oscar out of the manse and into their new townhouse. They are so thrilled, and the children are just so excited to be in there, have their own room. And they're besides themselves, and it was a lot of effort by volunteers. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we had volunteers at the manse a good part of every day, getting the manse ready for our new guests. And Friday, we had a family of 9 Afghan refugees arrive. We have parents, and we have 7 children ranging from 2 to 12. Now, they are supported by Church World Services, so unlike our work with our immigrants, we are not supporting this family. But Church World Services is stretched beyond belief with all of the immigrants that are coming in, all the refugees. We learned when the family arrived that their clothing had been lost between Frankfurt, Germany, and here, and they have been wearing the same outfit of clothes every day for what I think has to be about a month, because they've been here 2 weeks and they were in Virginia before that. And I put out the word, and other people put out the word, and we are taking bags and bags and bags of clothing down to the manse after the service today. We also learned that the mother needed to see a doctor, and we put out the word, and we got a volunteer to take her to urgent care. Got another volunteer late Friday night to go pick up a prescription for her. And all of this is in the space of their arriving around noon on Friday. So I just can't be more grateful for the incredible support from this church and from Kahila and also from other communities. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jeannie Jansen, and I'm here to rejoice that my friend Sharon Bushnell, who sort of lives on borrowed time, has survived another health crisis and is home again.
Hey, I'm Gray Brown, and the girls in my family, my daughters, have always known that weddings and marriage aren't essential. But that being said, my oldest daughter and her boyfriend of 9 years decided that they will be married, and Jesse got engaged, and it'll be next fall. So thank you.
Good morning. My name is Joy Blevins. I have 2 joys. The first one is Mary Hewlett and all the Immigrant Justice Initiative volunteers. Everybody has worked day and night and been terrific. I put out the word, I live in Southern Village, for clothing needed, as Mayor explained. The refugee family has had no clothing. I got 70 bags at my house last night. And this leads, it's just wonderful. This leads to the second joy. A couple of weeks ago, was rescued by this 5 or 6 year old gentleman who had a horrendous history. He is big poodle, and we think Burmese mountain dog. He's a gentle creature. And he was sitting in my living room, dining room last night, just looking at all these bags and just going like this. He is a sweetheart, and I am over the moon. And me and the other caregivers want to give him a good next chapter.
Hi, I'm Pam Webb, and I'm a relatively new member, so I have a joy and 2 sorrows. My joy is that my granddaughter turned 3 on October 30th. One of my sorrows is that my dad has metastatic carcinoma and is being treated with radiation. And my nephew, the other one, and his wife lost their baby in utero after 18 weeks. So we are all grieving with them.
Hi, I'm Krista Westervelt. First, a quick joy. A gratitude. I want to thank the folks in this community who've reached out to me since my mother's passing in September. It's really held me up during that time, so thank you. And then the sorrow is that my friend Carrie, her husband Tony, is in hospice, is expected to pass in the next few days. So if you could just hold her and her family in your heart. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Helen, and I am feeling very joyful and grateful. I was born on November 7th, 1948, so today is my birthday, and I'm delighted to be here and very grateful and happy to be in this place with you wonderful people. And right here, standing right here, it feels so perfect to be where I am right now. So thank you all. Thank you, Father Tom. I still say Father Tom, I'm sorry. Catholic, I was born in New Orleans.
My name is Glenda Wieland, and early in the summer I was given a diagnosis of cancer, and this week my scans came back negative. They could see no sign of cancer, so I'm very joyful.
First stone that is placed for church member Brenda Rogers. Brenda's mother, Dot Hyde, who is 100 years old. Her health is declining rapidly, and so Brenda asks that we extend our thoughts and our prayers to her mother during this time of transition. The second stone is placed for all those joys and sorrows that we hold in our hearts, which were not spoken. Won't you join with me in a time of reflection, meditation, and prayer? Spirit of life, source of our being and our becoming, God of our days, we hold in our hearts all of the joys and the sorrows spoken this morning. We hold those in our community facing illness and loss. We hold those recovering from illness. We celebrate with gratitude birthdays, anniversaries, engagements. We celebrate all of the children in our community and all of the children in our world who have received their first vaccines this past week, including my own girl. We ask for generosity of spirit as we face one another, as we strive to help and to heal, to give and to serve, to love and to rejoice. With thanks, with love, and with all that stirs within our own hearts, let us hold a time of silence. Won't you be still with me for a time? Amen, and blessed be. Our opening hymn this morning came from the Sufi tradition, and our sung meditation comes from the Buddhist tradition. It's number, I believe, 1053 in the Teal hymnal. 1031. 1031. Thanks for, I didn't get an order of service this morning. And we will sing it through 3 times. It is, may I be filled with loving kindness, may you be filled with loving kindness, and then the 3rd time through, may we be filled with loving kindness. Let us sing together as we remain seated.
May I be
Our reading this morning is entitled Every Third Thursday and was written by Reverend Joanna Fontaine Crawford, the minister of Live Oak Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Austin, Texas. Every third Tuesday, I am a Buddhist. I empty my mind and lighten my heart and try to let go of attachments. Every other Friday, I am a Christian. I look for the least of these and try to love God and my neighbor. The moon of the month finds me a Wiccan. I honor the dual nature of God and find my rhythm as maiden, mother, or crone. On the 15th of the month, I am humanist. I respect science, integrity of fellow humans, and all that we have learned and have made. Every fourth Wednesday, I am Hindu. I take a breath and understand that what is unfinished now will remain for me to continue next life. On alternate Fridays, I am Jewish. Yavareka Adonai Vishmarecha. I tell my children, softly touching each head. And the Thursdays and the Mondays and the Saturdays and Sundays and all the other days in between find me reading or listening or watching. Philosophers, Muslims, Mormons, Baha'i, and more fill my heart, touch my soul. And yet, the one thing that none of these provide to me is the certitude that they are the one. They lend me wisdom, sing to my heart, cause me to question, help me find answers, make me more me. And at the end of the day, every day, I am Unitarian Universalist. In parcel and in pledge, and with all my heart, all my soul, all my mind, and all my strength, I honor this faith. I hold it close as it lets me run free.
Clouds are upon the summer sky. There's thunder in the wind. Pull on, and homeward hie. Nor give one look behind. Row on, another day may shine with brighter light. Ply the oars and pull away. There's dawn beyond the night. Farewell, thou goest towards of love. Say all that words can say. Changeless affection, strength to prove, but speed upon the way. Row on, another day may shine with brighter light. Ply the oars and pull away. There's dawn beyond the night. Like yonder river would I glide, to where my heart would be. My bark should soon outsail the tide that hurries to the sea. Row on, another day may shine with brighter light. Ply the oars and pull away. There's dawn beyond the night. Is it you? But yet a star shines constant still through yonder cloudy sky, and hope as bright my bosom fills from faith that cannot die. Row on, another day may shine with brighter light. Ply the oars and pull away. There's dawn beyond the night. Row on, God speed the way. Thou canst not linger here. Storms hang about the closing day. Tomorrow may be clear. Row on, another day may shine with brighter light. Ply the oars and pull away. There's dawn beyond the night.
Thank you, Eileen and Tim, for the beautiful music this morning. And thank you, Michelle, for serving as our worship associate. This morning's sermon is number 3 in a 6-part series on the 6 sources of Unitarian Universalism. During October, I preached the first 2 sermons in that series, and during both of those services, I said that I was planning to do all 6 sermons in the series, unless you told me this topic was dreadfully boring. And so far, nobody has told me that they have been dreadfully bored. So here we are. This is what you get when you encourage me. Speaking of the 6 sources, if that's something that you're unfamiliar with, if you're wondering what the heck are those, you can find them. You have them actually with you if you have a gray hymnal with you. All you have to do is take out the gray hymnal, turn to hymn number 1, and then flip to 1 page earlier, and you'll find on the left side of that page several blocks of text. The block of text at the top of the page lists the 7 Unitarian Universalist principles, and then under those you'll find the words, "The living tradition we share draws from many sources." And that's followed, the block of text below that is the 6 sources. And so this morning's service is about another one of those 6 sources, wisdom from the world's religions which inspires us in our ethical and spiritual life. Wisdom from the world's religions which inspires us in our ethical and spiritual life. As we've considered the 6 sources, I've asked a couple of questions. How does each source fit within the historical trajectory of our faith? And what does this source say about us and our approach to our own religious lives? And I want to begin with a story that gets at this idea of drawing inspiration from the world's religions through the negative. The story comes from a Christian author named Rob Bell. Rob Bell, in the course of his theology, actually developed some increasingly open and inclusive beliefs which got him branded as a heretic and led to his resignation from the megachurch that he founded and pastored. His heretical book begins, the very first chapter of it begins with this story. Several years ago, we had an art show at our church. I had been giving a series of teachings on peacemaking, and we invited artists to display their paintings and poems and sculptures that reflected their understanding of what it means to be a peacemaker. One woman included in her work a quote from Mahatma Gandhi, which a number of people found quite compelling. But not everyone. Someone, we don't know who, attached a piece of paper to her artwork, and on the piece of paper was written, "Gandhi is in hell." Rob Bell uses this story to launch into his heretical theology, challenging the idea of hell. But I want to use this story to explore the idea of openness to wisdom from the world's religions. To state the obvious, and in our own church, we have art that changes up month to month on the walls. If any artist here referenced Gandhi here in our sanctuary, nobody would react that way. We would all find it wonderful and beautiful and look for inspiration. We recognize that that reaction of the person who put that note on the artwork was an expression of tribalism. Tribalism, that force that divides the human family, separating the included from the excluded based on religion or culture or ethnicity or race. Tribalism says who is in and who is out. And the person putting that note on the artwork was saying, Gandhi isn't one of us, not part of our tribe, not welcome here. And so when we declare ourselves open, when we say that our living tradition draws from wisdom of the world's religions which inspires us in our ethical and spiritual life, we are declaring ourselves opposed to that type of tribalism that would separate us and segregate us religiously, culturally, or racially. At the most basic level, by including wisdom from the world's religions in our 6 sources, our sources take a posture of openness, humility, and wonder. We say that the world's religions are rich and meaningful, and that we stand to learn something from them. Historically speaking, Unitarians actually played an important role in promoting religious diversity within the United States. First, many texts from Hinduism and from other Eastern religions were first translated into English by Unitarians who were part of the Transcendentalist movement. They took holy texts from India that had been newly translated into German and then translated them from German into English. The Transcendentalists believed that religious inspiration did not come from the Bible exclusively, that the world of the Spirit was universal. And so they turned excitedly to holy texts from other religious traditions to help prove this point. In the words of Unitarian poet Samuel Longfellow, "Light of ages and of nations, every race and every time has received inspirations, glimpses of the truth sublime." Transcendentalist Unitarian minister James Freeman Clarke authored one of the earliest studies in comparative religion. In 1871, he published his book, The 10 Great Religions, in 2 volumes, which considered Hinduism, Buddhism, and Chinese religion, Egyptian, Greek, Roman, and Norse mythology, and Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. 2 decades later, in conjunction with the 1893 World's Fair in Chicago, Unitarians again played an instrumental role when they helped to organize the Parliament of World Religions. This gathering in 1893 was a pioneering effort in interreligious dialogue and marked the first time that Hindu, Jain, and Zen Buddhist religious leaders were invited to give public speeches in the United States. When I think of that source, wisdom from the world's religions which inspires us in our ethical and spiritual lives, I am led to respond with humility, with awe, and with appreciation. It is such a big source. It's such a big source, and ours is a very, very little religion. So there's this paradox in saying that our very little religion is so big it contains all the religious truth from all the world's religions. What an exhausting paradox. So how might we approach the amazing religious diversity on planet Earth? One way is through an openness to encounter. Henry David Thoreau famously begins one of his essays with these words: "I know that some will have hard thoughts of me when they hear their Christ named beside my Buddha. Yet I am sure that I am willing they should love their Christ more than my Buddha, for love is the main thing, and I like him too." Has anyone ever heard that quote by Thoreau before? I'm going to read it again. I love it so much. "I know that some will have hard thoughts of me when they hear their Christ named beside my Buddha. Yet I am sure that I am willing they should love their Christ more than my Buddha, for love is the main thing, and I like him too." It is this position of encounter and sharing that is, not one based on competition or proving one right. It's holding these 2 traditions and being able to appreciate without competition. I think of Buddhist spiritual teacher Thich Nhat Hanh, who wrote a book entitled Living Buddha, Living Christ, about how his encounter with Christianity made him into a much better Buddhist. And I think of Harvard professor of comparative religion Diana Eck, who begins her introduction to world religions class with the challenging assertion, "If you know only one religion, you know no religion." Because we all live within encounter and comparison and sharing. There's truth here, and the truth of this source is overwhelming. I find it overwhelming. As I sat down to write about world religions, I thought to myself, what the heck do I know about world religions? And that's despite an undergraduate degree in religion and a graduate degree in religion. And that's despite various encounters, from breaking fasts with Muslims for Eid al-Fitr, to attending a Passover Seder, to having prayed in a Sikh Gurdwara, to having meditated at a Zen center, to having organized a Martin Luther King Day service, and having read a library of books about religion, but still thinking, I know ultimately, if you consider the vast treasure of religious knowledge in the world, that I know so very little of it. What I don't know about religion dwarfs what I do know, right? And I think that's the thing that comes to anybody as they take seriously whatever is their area of is, whether it's an academic discipline or a professional discipline, that we come to understand that the truth is much bigger than we can ever know. And that what each of us is able to lead or teach with any sort of authenticity and accountability and maturity and depth of knowledge is actually fairly narrow. And so I'd say this source above all others is the source that lends us a sense of humility. How should we think about the vastness of this source? I remember that in the Unitarian Universalist Church where I grew up, there was a poster on the wall. Maybe it was on some of the, if you grew up UU, it was maybe in your religious education classroom. The poster contained variations, 10 different variations on the Golden Rule, as expressed in a diversity of religious and philosophical traditions. It was the Taoist version of the Golden Rule and the Confucian version of the Golden Rule and the Buddhist and the Jewish and the Socratic version of the Golden Rule. And the implicit message of that poster was that all religions are really the same. There are metaphors and understandings that would seek to erase differences and say that all religions are really basically the same. I've often heard the metaphor of the blind man in the elephant, where each person is touching an elephant, although one person is touching the tusk and one person is touching the trunk and one person is touching the tail. I've heard the metaphor that all religions are basically different paths or different donkeys climbing the same mountain. And yet the most serious scholars of religion insist that these metaphors and understandings are unhelpful. Stephen Prothero's book, God is Not One, is actually says that the religions of the world are essentially different from one another. They are different and that those differences matter. So what if our source says that our living tradition draws from wisdom of the world's religions, and that this wisdom brings us ethical differences and spiritual incompatibilities? What if it says that truth is really overwhelming and that that's a good thing? Of all the metaphors for trying to understand the diversity of the world's religions, modern UU minister Forrest Church offers one that a lot of people find helpful, and I'm going to end by sharing Forrest Church's metaphor of the cathedral of the world. Forrest Church invites us to imagine that every person on the planet is standing within a great and enormous cathedral. Above all, he says, contemplate the windows. In the cathedral of the world, there are windows beyond number, some long forgotten, covered with many patinas of dust, others revered by millions, the most sacred of shrines. Each in its own way is beautiful. Some are abstract and others representational. Some dark and meditative, others bright and dazzling, and each window tells a story about the creation of the world, the meaning of history, the purpose of life, the nature of humankind, and the mystery of death. The windows of the cathedral are where the light shines through. A 21st century theology based on the concept of one light and many windows offers both breadth and focus, honoring many different religious approaches. This metaphor excludes only the truth claims of absolutists. There are some fundamentalists who claim that the light shines only through their window, and some go as far as to beseech their followers to throw stones through other people's windows.
Skeptics draw the opposite conclusion, seeing the bewildering variety of windows and observing the folly of the worshipers. That's all of us. They conclude that there is no light. But the windows are not the light, they're where the light shines through. Forest Church concludes, we shall never see the light directly, only as refracted through the windows of the cathedral. Prompting humility, life's mystery lies hidden. The light is veiled. Yet that we can encompass with our minds the universe that encompasses us is a cause for great wonder. And so we stand humbly in the cathedral of the world, trembling with awe. Our source, which says that our living tradition draws from many sources, including the diversity of the world's great religious traditions, inspires us to remember that the truth is always larger than what we may know, and that the world is always larger than our own limited experience. It asks us to move, to encounter each other with humility, with wonder, and with awe. May that spirit go with you. And I am going to pull a little bit of an audible here and change up the closing hymn this morning. The closing hymn is actually the same tune. So if you practiced, if you were humming to yourself 318, I don't know, while you were bored listening to me or whatever, it's actually the same tune, but we're going to sing it to different words. It's 159, This Is My Song. And it is a song about mutual respect across difference. And I invite you to rise in body or in spirit as we sing our closing hymn this morning, 159.
Please remain standing, in body or spirit. You will find the words for extinguishing the chalice in your order of service. Please join me if you wish to do so. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Before we sing Shalom, a reminder to please place any donations you would like to make today in the offering basket at the back of the church. All offerings will be appreciated. And speaking of appreciation, I'd like to take a moment to express gratitude again for the beautiful music that was shared with us this morning. In keeping with our COVID protocols, if you prefer not to hold hands during the singing of Shalom, please cross your hands over your chest. And if you are comfortable with holding hands with those around you, indicate that by putting your hands out to either side.